I'm here with Missy Jen, and happy spring to you, honey. First day of spring today, and Jen and I are happy. It's a rainy kind of day, but we know sunny days, and a lot of them will be coming our way soon.
Oh,
so
yeah.
welcome to you guys, hot and dry and nice. And our reservoirs are full, and that's a good thing. Things got a little bit scary in the fall of last year in terms of whether we're going to be able to survive another year of drought with our water supplies in California. But going through 3 years, and now all of a sudden we've got it made here, and we're feeling good. We're feeling like we can put our lawn back in place, and we can have nice digs once again around here. The topic I want to talk about today is many days Jen and I turn on YouTube and we just kind of scratch our heads, and we're just kind of astounded and stuff, especially when it comes to the trans community here. And I know Jen has considered herself moved on beyond the trans community now, and Janet, my best friend Janet, feels the same way. Janet doesn't want to associate things with organizations that are strictly transgender, or be associated with going places that are just transgender. Your goal when you're transgendered is to really mainstream yourself. That's your ultimate goal, right? Is to do whatever you're going to do in your transition. And of course, I'm a non-opti yes, and Jen is a post-opti yes. To find your point on that what I call that line that goes from one end of being male for us and coming out the other end is female or third gendered in my case. It's an incredible kind of journey, and it's one that's fraught with a lot of problems and things. And when you reach the end of it and you feel like you've succeeded, you don't want to necessarily be in the community of which you were a member of for a long time, because people are still what I call works in progress in that particular group. So Jen and I are always amazed by the complexity of our own trans community, and I did a video the other day talking about trans and drama, and how there just seems to be so much drama associated with the trans community. And by and large, that was a well-received video with a lot of people commenting on that. And we'll often have people saying, geez, what's with the trans community? You girls are so overrepresented in drama. And people like Zombie Birdie King, our friend, will say things like, you know what, are you and Jen like the only stable people within that community? Sometimes we feel like we are, but the community that's represented within our community is a very small kind of community. And Jen, you've often talked before about girls that go through their transition. They close down their YouTube channels, and they don't have anything to do with being transgender, because it's a process for them, not a place to be.
Right.
Yeah, and you've talked about that a lot, and you've made good points about that. And I used to scratch my head and think, well, there's a sisterhood of being transgender, but in a lot of ways there's not. And I'm discovering there's not. I'm discovering you wake up some mornings, you don't know if you're going to be filleted when you turn on your YouTube channel, and it's like the trans community seems to be not only a lot of times the most unstable segment of our community, but the one that seems to lash out and take the most joy out of telling others within our community how they should be, how they should act, how they should dress, body shaming, fat shaming, things like that. In other words, we're so hard on ourselves relative to the rest of the community that people are shocked on the outside sometimes when they see that, because it doesn't occur to the extent that we see it in the trans community. And we've talked about the competitive nature that males enter becoming and starting their transition. A lot of times we start from that base of being competitive because we are male. We tend to be aggressive. We tend to want to win, things like that. And too often, at the end of the day, what we try to get away from, and what we hope others don't judge us on appearance, tends to often be the focal, even more of a focal point for trans,
Right.
a magnet for, well, you know, what would you say, being bashed and things like that. Which, when, you know, so I wanted to just come on here and talk today because I really think we're happy people in the community. And of course, you battle debilitating MS, and if anybody has reason to be, you know, pissy and moany in life, it would be you, with the pain that you go through every day. And, you know, I help Jen here and there, and, you know, I have to be prepared to get her off the floor if she's down on the floor, or help her sometimes get back into bed or out of bed and stuff like that. But she doesn't complain one iota about that life, because she sees the other side of the coin of being who you want to be in life.
Right.
And that gives you that spirituality, that inner being of being happy. And if I could, I don't know how you feel, but if I could bottle that and give that to some of my trans sisters, stop judging people by the standards of you think that they should be judged, and look at people in terms of the happiness and the joy that they exude and they bring within their own lives and things. And we get criticized sometimes that we don't do enough to give back to the trans community and things like that. You know why? Because it's a journey that you have to make yourself.
I've given back over the years a lot. I've given back a lot. I've been on YouTube for 7 years, and I've given back by following channels, commenting on people's channels. I have exchanged phone numbers with people. I have had phone conversations and supported a lot of transgender people on their journeys. I have still now, even on the Collab channel now, the 9 video educational series, the surgery video series from the hospital, and
well, by and large, let's bottom line it, Jen, that you get the most non-reciprocated care back, and you get much more feeling of love and affection from what we would call the typical straight community did we ever get.
Right.
from the trans community. And it all ties together with, and this is the thing that's going to tie it on the video, we just get so many people write us, how can you girls be so happy? How can you be so well adjusted? How come it's a drama-free zone with what you do? Because we like ourselves. We like we like the lives that we live. It may not be your life. It may not be to your liking. It may not be to your standards in terms of dress. And I know I'm often out there and very flamboyant because I like the way I turned out being transgender, and I like to celebrate that. It's all part of the joy of the feminine side of myself, and I think it exudes that joy. And Jen enjoys being a little more on the elegant sort of sexy side and things like that. But we find our own place where we feel good about ourselves, so we don't feel like we have to lash out at other people or get back at somebody because they made a comment. And if I could just bottle that feeling, go ahead, Jen.
It's one of the reasons why I have, several years ago, when my therapist asked if I was going to continue to mingle in the trans community, said no. Because there's just too much envious and jealousy and too much hate going on, instead of a bond and supporting each other. It's always a rubbing each other's heads, button heads. Who is better than the other? And
yes, and I set myself up as the judge of you because I can do that, because I'm allowed to. Well, I'm allowed to, quote, keep it real, unquote. And it's like, yeah, but it might be as you perceive it and things, and that's fine. And I try to get along with people in the community. But, you know, to bash for the sake of bashing and things, when it's something that Jen and I just feel like you know, no wonder there's such little happiness out there, because you take time tearing down, and I'm just saying generally, and I'm not saying specifically. And it's one of the reasons, oddly enough, that we seem to get along much better. Girls that have completed the transition seem to get along much better with cross-dressers and people like that, because they have a perfect awareness of what they are, you know, and they're not trying to be something they're not, in a sense. Okay, they want to dress up and look like women and things, but they're happy to know that they're not trying to put on theirs that they're transgender and gone the whole distance. So they feel that comfort within themselves, and that shows in their happiness. You know, not one to name names, but you look at people that are so well adjusted, like Kitty, T-Girl Kitty, and you look at Tara Williams, and you look at Maxine CD, and these people, they feel good within themselves. They're exactly where they want to be, and they exude that happiness. So I guess I'm saying, if you're trans and your first instinct is to, you know, to lash out and be mad about the way that you see other people living their lives, trans women that are happy, maybe you should turn it around a little bit and ask yourself, what am I doing that's making me so unhappy, or what am I not doing? And oftentimes you're going to find it's like you're trying to live a life that you're not mentally equipped to live. Not that you're not transgender, but you can't seem to put the pieces into place to find that happiness to drive you forward to be a force for positive and joy in the community. You know, I can look at Jen every day and I can say to myself, you know, I don't have anything to complain about. My huge tax bills, my aches and pains of arthritis and a bad knee, and it keeps me in check with the way, you know, anytime I feel like whining, although I do my fair share of whining around here. But Jen understands that, you know, I'm supportive, and I'm supportive of her, and I appreciate the joy that she brings to life, because if anybody would be short on joy to bring in, it would be Missy Jen. So yeah, that's my take. Any concluding thoughts, Jen, or any final thoughts you want to leave people?
So basically, the reason why I will not be like the MS is not getting me down, and I'm not complaining. It's because I have worked very hard to become who I really am, and I am who I really am. I'm very, very comfortable with who I am, and I am here on YouTube making every day more and more awesome friends, and people just really embrace me, even in the real world, wherever I go, for who I am. And that is the best feeling in the world, that after 5 hard years of sacrifices, hard work, saving, scrunching every penny, and paying for everything, paying my way through, and getting to the point that I have become myself. Now, basically, enjoying the reward, the fruits of my labor, is the best feeling in the world, and that overpowers everything else that's negative in my life, in our life now. Overpowers everything. Anytime when something bad happens, I always remind myself, just think about the things that I have overcome over these years, and I remind myself I've got Rosie in my life now as a partner.
And you like yourself.
And I love myself.
Yeah. And this is what I want to jump in and say this too before I lose this particular thought is, you know, I used to think it was very self-serving when you would hear somebody say, you know, you can't care, you can't love, you can't give a damn about other people until you love yourself, and you can't love others. And I used to scratch my head and say, man, it's almost embarrassing to say that, you know, I love myself and all that. I don't know if I love myself, but I like myself. And as a result of that, because I like myself and I live with myself 24/7, you know, then I don't have to sit here and reflect on myself and, oh God, what did I say today? And what did I do here? And what do you know, I don't have to have this, you know, up and down and all this oscillations like a, you know, the amplitudes of craziness I call it. You can feel good about yourself so you can focus on other people. And now I think it's probably the biggest truism of the world. If you don't feel good about yourself, you can't possibly be a force for positive in the world. So it all begins with getting yourself in a position where you like yourself, okay, and you like what you're all about. If you later have regrets that you're doing something that's causing you to later lay in bed at night and think, God, why did I do that? Or why do I say that? Or why do I pick on this person? Or why do I do that? You know, really sit there and ask yourself why, and to have to retreat from that. Think about how different life is when you're out there and give positive support and things for people. It's a whole different ball game. Anyway, honey, thanks for being on with me today and sharing, you know, as we come to the 2-year anniversary mark of Missy Jen being on the rancho here. It's been a great ride. I've learned a lot from her. You know, I've learned that she, you know, appreciates me for being me. She doesn't try to change me. Yeah, sometimes, you know, her eyes are a little wider than other times. But she values the unique individual within. And I don't think she would like it if I tried to be something that I wasn't around here. It would be almost as uncomfortable for her as
I
it
just
would
don't
be for me.
believe in changing people.
Yeah. And we've learned that through a lot of different ways, that people's basic natures are going to stay the same. But you can certainly do things to care about yourself and love yourself a little more and make yourself a happier force for the community. Okay. Thanks everybody for listening today. Stay tuned. Always good stuff to come. And happy first day of spring.
Yep. Mwah.